Hi, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Glenn, what was the top story?
There's two stories, and I want to kind of dice into a little of both of them. First, what I talked about with the Black Panther mask coming off. Hey, I'm a radical, and we were just feeding the children with Mother Teresa. And the other one is what's happening on Wall Street.
Okay, let's do.
Two stories. Glad to see there's no rules here.
Anarchy. I'm a revolutionary.
I'm going to go with a little bit more on the Laura Ingraham nonsense.
Okay, Pat.
The Caravan, the invasion caravan that's on its way from Mexico.
Yes, okay. Jason?
China announced that they delivered to the WTO the retaliatory tariffs. Is this the start of a trade war, or is there something else?
All right.
Well, I'm going to pick it up there because that's what I didn't talk about this on the air at all because I have an executive producer who's like, I don't know, is that really a part?
I heard you say exactly that.
I do sound like
Like that,
Yeah.
too.
Exactly
Like
like
that.
that.
You've heard it before,
I heard
Pat.
it. I've heard it
So,
many times.
I think that the one thing that the stock market and business all around the world does not like is unpredictability. And that's what Donald Trump loves. And it may be working in some areas, but if he does too much of it, it could collapse the economy. And I would warn him that that's the thing that's keeping his numbers high. Mm-hmm. You know, his numbers are, I know.
Hi.
Yeah.
Ish.
Between 40 and 50.
Sometimes.
If
you believe Rasmussen.
Right. If you believe the most favorable pollster for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Let's just give it to him. Give it to him, just for this conversation.
Sure.
If the Dow begins to seriously crack and people start to lose the feeling of, hey, we're economically on the right track, he's done. And so are the Republicans in 2018. The other story that I wanted to talk about was the radicals that we talked about just a few minutes ago on my main television show. But I want to just spin it a different way. What does that mean for the Democratic Party and their campaign strategy for 2018? Keith Ellison is talking about taxes. He is talking about, or the party is talking about radicalization. They're still not showing any grace or place for the white male voter. I think the Democrats are in for a huge shock.
Well, and they're also doubling down on, the ridiculous nonsense that all of the social activism and all of that kind of got Donald Trump elected in the first place. Yeah.
And if they are all about Stormy Daniels on television, and the Democrats are all about radicals as their platform, and hate white people, if that's their message, if Donald Trump's economy doesn't fall apart, he's going to steamroll, and so will the Republicans. I believe they will. You don't?
I hope you're right. I mean, I would like to see the Republicans maintain control so at least we get something occasionally out of them. But I mean, I think they're in serious trouble of losing the House. Serious trouble. And once
Even
that
with
happens,
radicals? Even with Keith Ellison?
They do what they do. I do think they're in major trouble. But remember, no one's really been able to ever replicate what Trump has done. No one has been able to follow the Trump playbook other than Trump and actually succeed. And again, even Trump lost the popular vote, right?
But I would say on the other hand, it's interesting that no one's ever done what the progressives are doing now, what the radicals are doing now, and exactly what you said in your other program is they're taking their masks off. They're not even hiding who they were. I mean, we had the president in a photo op with a known racist and anti-Semite, Louis Farrakhan. No one cared. No one cared. It's like they don't even care what the Nation of Islam stands for. And now this Rollins lady just came out and said she's a member of the Black Panther Party. And no one cares. And they're whitewashing what they stood for.
I think that's because of two things. One, everyone on the left just wants to stop Donald Trump. So Democrats, they don't care about any of that. They just want to stop Donald Trump. And on the right, they just want somebody who's listening to them and who is helping them in their economy. And that's why I say, if their economy starts to fall apart, Donald Trump has got to be spoken to by Larry Kudlow and some of the advisors that he has around him because they're smart. And they need to say, Mr. President, stability, 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 stability. Hold the economy together or you'll lose it all.
Can I tag along or piggyback on that with my topic. Sorry to skip you two guys, but it fits so
Okay, we
perfectly.
give you a chance to be
There are no
on
rules
the
for this.
show.
Stories.
Take
Jason's
over.
out of order.
Anarchy!
Please, Jason.
What this show needs is predictability, stability, just like Glenn said.
That's why I'm not putting too much stock really in all this tariff talk. Now, I think that even how the Chinese retaliated today, and even what Trump did, I think it's just actually pandering to a certain group of people, a voting bloc that he actually wants. I don't even think much is going to come out of it. And we talked about the steel and aluminum tariffs. The steel tariffs seem like a non-issue to me because we have no issue with producing steel. And China is not even really a country that we even get much steel from. So when Trump announced his tariffs, it was about, depending on where you get your information, 30 to 60 billion in tariffs targeting the tech industry. Now, it's really a drop in the bucket compared to the amount that we actually import over to China anyway. And when you look at it, it actually seems to me like it was just a group of tech guys that said, look, well, we actually like the way it's going now, but this is what pisses us off. So he targeted what pisses them off. And that's how they have to give over technological secrets every time they move into China and try to do business. Now, on the other hand, China retaliated back. And I don't even think you can call it retaliation. They said they were going to target $2.7 billion of our of what we import over in their country. Well, what they delivered today was, again, only about half of that, or not even half. It was like 600 million of that 2.7 billion.
Is nothing.
It's nothing. We import, or they they import over here it was like something like 400 and something billion or something like that. Over there, we import about like 130 billion or something like that. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's not even a real retaliation.
It's not nothing, though. I mean, it's the beginning of because I understand what you're saying. As far as numbers go, it's not a huge deal, but it's the beginning of something that could escalate. Secondly, that's $600 million or what? Their costs added to the American consumer. I mean, it might not be a huge thing in the entire economy, but it's money that we have to spend that we can't spend on other things.
Is it possible? All the world is but a stage, and we are merely but its players.
Yes.
Is it possible that Donald Trump is doing this to show and fulfill his promise? I'm going to be tough on China, and China understands that, and they're just playing this little game.
It's possible. I just think that the policy in general is really bad, and we've talked about that before. Whether he's going to ask, I think you've made this point before, Jason. I think it's correct in that there's a good chance that what he's doing here is just negotiating and nothing comes of it. But I mean, I think it's a bad temptation, and nationalism gives itself to this, and it lends itself to this. We're talking about a policy that has done more for the world probably than any other individual policy. When talking about free trade, lifting people out of poverty, it really has done so much good, and to see it be, even if it is just a talking point, that just is a political thing that he's using to win over his people, it's a real negative that we would run away from something that has been really probably the best example of our economic philosophy as conservatives over the past 50 years.
You're only saying all this because tariffs have never worked.
Well,
and I'm just kind of tired of it. He continues to inject logic into this discussion.
Don't go to him. Don't
go to him anymore.
Go to him.
Okay.
you're all out of order.
Anarchy!
Pat, let's talk about the Caravan.
Yeah, the
Why does that
Caravan-
matter?
Well, there's 1,500 to 2,000 people making their way to the United States to demand. They've already listed their demands. They have the right to decent jobs in our country, and they have the right to open borders so that nobody who needs a job can be denied a job in our country.
Seems reasonable.
It doesn't seem reasonable for non-citizens? Sure. If for an invasion force to come in and demand rights, well, Mexico is aiding them in this. They're helping them all along the way. They said they've disbanded this group. They haven't. But to his credit, our president today made the announcement that he's sending U.S. troops, the military, to the border to put a stop to this nonsense.
Okay, so
And if he does that, I mean, Bush did it to a certain extent. He sent unarmed National Guard. Obama did it again in 2010. But the last time we really did a military force on the border and meant it was like 1959.
yeah, it was Eisenhower.
Yeah.
So here's what I think, because I've just been living in the radical soup all day. Pictures are, a picture is worth 1,000 words. What does it look like? Have we ever seen this picture before of the poor of the foreigner or the otherness, the color difference, standing with soldiers who have guns or dogs or are zip ties or handcuffs, trying to go in and stop these people who just want a job. Have we seen this before? They are setting up the images of Martin Luther King. That's what they're doing. This is going to turn into somebody is orchestrating this, and we should find out exactly who is paying for all of this. But I'll bet you it's the Democratic Socialists.
Probably. There is no other country on earth who would allow this.
No.
Nobody else on earth would allow thousands of people to just demand entry and just to come on in and take jobs.
Europe did it because of the EU.
Well, the refugee thing with the Middle East.
And the interesting thing about this is it's a whole lot larger than just people that want to find good work, and just come over from, Mexico and whatever the rhetoric is. There's a larger transnational, group that's moving these people from all over the world. I went a couple years ago with Louis Gohmert down there to see what was going on.
Yes.
And we got footage of Chinese nationals in an entire group trying to come over. And we asked them, how did you get across? And they're like, well, we go to this country, this country, this country, and eventually we will, link up with a coyote that says they're going to come over. This is a very integrated, very highly organized group. Now, there's no reason at all why you can't think that. Why can't somebody from Hezbollah do the same thing?
Well, they can, and they do.
Easily, yeah.
They do. Well, and this group knows what they're doing, right? They're coming here because they want the visuals you're talking about. I mean, they all know that Donald Trump is going to stop them. And you know who else knows that the visuals are a bad idea, I think, is Donald Trump, which is why he's tweeting and talking about Mexico, you better stop them before they get here.
Right.
Because when they get here, what are they going to do? Yeah, they can try to arrest them all, right? And I think they probably don't run. I bet you anything, they stand there and nicely get handcuffed, just like you would in civil disobedience.
The only way to stop them is if they stop them in the water. So and the only people doing this was not the Border Patrol that I saw. It was actually the Texas DPS. They have boats that were going. But if the boats miss them and they take one step on our shore, it's over. And it's half the time we don't even detain them. We take them, give them like a written letter, and say you have to come back for your court date at this time.
And then we let them go on our side.
Well,
and
and
they're gone.
a group of 1,500 to 2,000 at once is almost impossible to stop.
Yeah.
Most of those people are going to make it in.
It's almost like chaos
Almost.
is being orchestrated.
Almost.
You know what? I'm going to create more chaos and not get to Stu's.
What the heck?
Yes.
What did I do?
Stay tuned.
That's why you host this show.
Stu, I will allow you.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Let's talk about Laura Ingraham. Okay, it's Tuesday.
Yes.
So why does it still matter?
Well, it's interesting the path this is going down. You start with, first of all, you have David Hogg and, a group of, anti-gun high school students, and Kyle Kashev, mainly the pro-gun Second Amendment high school student, who's handled himself immensely better than the other side on this one, and there's no question. But it is weird that, there was a time in which it only seemed like politics was a high school cliques warring with each other. Now it actually is. That is actually what we're talking about every day, are groups of high schoolers yelling at each other on Twitter. That is what we've been reduced to. It's freaking amazing. It's amazing, though, to see the camps kind of stake their territory out, and that, now Laura Ingraham was this horrible person because she criticized David Hogg when she didn't really criticize, and we talked about that at length. She didn't really do anything. But that was how she was painted by the left, as this horrible person who is just vilifying this poor high school student. Now the left has decided to try to find another angle to this, and they're also casting Laura Ingraham as a victim. Why? Because Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson can get away with it, but Laura Ingraham can't. Now, of course, the left, this is a coordinated attack against Laura Ingraham. So they could have gone after Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity. They decided to go after Laura Ingraham. It wasn't Laura Ingraham being like, it wasn't Sean Hannity saying you guys need to go after Laura. It was the left and Media Matters and those groups going after Laura Ingraham. So now she's not only a villain, but she's also a victim. They really just can't even make their minds up anymore.
Although I would like to point out in the article that I read, they were very clear that they did feel like she did deserve it.
Oh, yes.
So it was almost like it's not that we feel like she's a victim because people are taking it to the extreme. We just need to be taking it to the extreme with other people.
Right. That's exactly it.
Here's what's remarkable to me. Now I've forgotten my point.
Just another part of the chaos in today's program.
Isn't that remarkable? The fact that they're calling her a bully,
Yes.
and yet there was a teacher from Parkland that has spoken out and said the kids are not healing because it just keeps getting dredged up and it's causing all this division in the school. So remember, we were supposed to be nice to everybody because they needed to heal. But these two kids in particular are churning the whole school. She said the classes are breaking apart and the classes are crying and everything else every day still. But what's interesting is Laura Ingraham is a bully. Although this teacher would not give this interview without having her voice disguised and no one know her name. Well, you don't do that unless you're worried about being bullied.
I think when they interview child molesters, they do that to them, right? Like, they have to do that because you support the Second Amendment or at least don't oppose it.
That's remarkable.
And not only did she say virtually nothing bad, but she also apologized profusely afterwards. And ingraciously, the apology has not been accepted because she hasn't completely caved into his will. I mean, she's expected now to not just change her viewpoint, but to denounce her network for their coverage. It's ludicrous.
It's nonsensical high school drama. And in this case, it literally is just high school drama. And we just all are accepting it as if it's a normal part of the day. It's very strange.
It's way beyond, it's way past time. Everyone just stops listening to them. Stop putting them on your networks. And I tell you what, the right is just as guilty. Because the first thing the right did was go and find one that was on their side. They find Kyle Kashev. And it's a very legitimate point that they were excluding him. But stop doing what they're doing. Let's not put these kids out on the airwaves 24/7. We don't need them to fight we're having them fight our battles for us.
It's like Clone Wars, right? Like it's like the clone armies. Like we're just like the left has found their clones that are going to replicate their points. The right is finding theirs, and they're just kind of battling it out. And we're all sitting back there and watching as
proxy war, basically, for the Second Amendment.
It's a battle of the victims. Who has the most sympathetic victim?
Glenn, you talked about David Bowie. And he gave a speech and he said you should never play to the gallery, be authentic. Yeah. Why does that matter?
I think it matters because I think that there is a movement in especially the millennials that is very genuine. They are searching for things that are genuine. They are searching for things that aren't fraud. It's why I think Parkland is turning inside out because they're seeing these kids become famous and they weren't really the victims here. And so people are searching for something that's not fraudulent. So here's David Bowie. Now listen to this advice. I think this is absolutely perfect advice for people. Listen to this.
Never play to the gallery. I think, but you never learn that until much later on, I think. But never work for other people at what you do. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And if the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.
I love that. I love that. And for several reasons, but one that I just point out here, I love the thing where he said, we all have to remember, at some point, we started out thinking, I have something in me that I want to express. And as we get older, we lose that. And we need to embrace that again. We need to figure out, why am I getting up every morning doing this? What am I doing every day? Why am I going to work every day? What is it that I believe in? Why do I believe this? Why am I having these arguments?
Why do I go to work every day? It's like you're listening to my in-car conversation with myself on the way in.
Speaking of listening.
I can make that stop.
Speaking of listening, Alexa, give us the update on what's going on with all of this technology.
Yeah, we talked about this a bunch today on radio. I think it's really interesting in that, we will let technology take away our liberties very slowly, much more slowly than we would allow the government to do it, or at least admit that we want the government to do. With Alexa, Alexa and Google have filed patents now, and they're not making these products yet, they say, but the patents that they filed for can do. One of the examples I'll give you was, and this is in their description. This is them saying what it would do. It can spot if you left a T-shirt on the floor of your closet, and the T-shirt has Will Smith's face on it. And it combines that with your search history to realize that you're a fan of Will Smith, and then will just deliver you, hey, did you know Will Smith's movie is out and is in a theater near you? Like, that's freaking weird.
They want CCTV cameras in every home? That's how they're going to pull this off? Like, how?
They already have it. Your phones and everything else. They see. They can see and hear everything. I mean, who was it? I think it was Facebook that said that they wanted ears and eyes inside of houses. They already have this. They want you to place things in your home because they need the ears and the eyes and you to be able to say, hey, Facebook. They're looking.
Yeah.
All of these companies.
And
are
the
looking
scary
for
part is, most Americans won't care about that. They'll say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. What do I care if they're watching me? Yeah, you're not the one who decides whether it's right or wrong what you're doing in your house. So if there's ever oppression at foot.
Do you know the name of the book I'm reading? Kill Protocol or Kill something or other?
Definitely about killing.
Yeah. Okay. Kill Process.
Yeah.
It's a book, and it's about this. Yeah. It is about this, and it has this Facebook-like company. And it shows what they're able to do. And it's written by a guy in Silicon Valley. He knows what they can do and what they are doing. Yeah. And it is quite a remarkable book.
All right, we got to take a break. Stay with us.
They said, if your kids are getting
Every day, we like to take your questions, so remember to tweet us using the hashtag #TheBlazeWhy. So Jason wants to know, hackers haven't been able to stop we haven't been able to stop hackers. Why would we open ourselves up to this invasion of privacy with Alexa?
It's too late we have to decide, each of us have to decide what you're allowing into your home. You have it in your home already.
It's so convenient.
I have it.
It's so convenient.
It is.
All right, we got to go. We'll see you guys tomorrow. I know.
China just announced, or the Pentagon just said that China has a kill switch for all military. Our military.